Hi guys, Darth Deuces here, back with another Star Wars The Black Series action figure review. Today taking a look at a figure from the second wave of that publishing line of figures, I guess you could call them. The ones that are in those boxes that have like the Velcro, they kind of open up, kind of like a book, I guess. But this is Sergeant Kreel, who has appeared in the Marvel Star Wars run of comics that I've not actually read a ton of. That first run that they did back in 2015 and to however long that went. But basically, this is a character that is part of like this Stormtrooper Commando squad. They're called Scar Squadron. And they're very Bad Batch like. You got a guy who's bigger, wears the bulkier armor. He's like the muscle guy. You got the communications guy. You've got the sniper guy, etc., etc. Sergeant Kreel is the leader. And I think it's pretty cool that we got to figure this guy. I think it's a pretty cool character for a few different reasons. And it's actually probably my favorite figure from this whole publishing line so far. I haven't gotten them all. I got 3 out of 4 of the first wave, and this is the only one I've gotten from the new wave so far. The lineup is a lot of figures. They're all repaints or retools in some variety. I really did like the Apprentice Darth Maul. That one was pretty good. But this one here is also really nice. It is the 2020 new Black Series Stormtrooper mold, the 2.0 mold, if you will, but with a fair amount of new molded parts to make it feel different and new, which is pretty cool. But taking a closer look, you can definitely tell he does use the same helmet, but it is looking really nice, and the paint apps for the most part are pretty clean. The gray on the mouth piece does get a little wonky at the edge there, but aside from that, it looks pretty good. And all the paint apps that are applied there, like the venting and whatnot, all looks pretty well done. The first new part you may notice is the chest piece. The chest piece overlay is new. It's a lot smoother on the front. And then on the back, you actually have this jetpack molded onto it, which I think is a pretty cool little detail. The chest plate really reminds me of a First Order Stormtrooper. It's a lot flatter, sleeker, but I think it looks pretty cool. The pauldron is reuse. I think it's reuse of the First Order Stormtrooper officer pauldron that they use for a few different figures. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I do believe it is reused from that. It does have red, orangish red paint app for the color, and then you do have a nicely applied black Imperial logo on there, which I think looks pretty good. And you've got the rest of the armor. This right arm is complete reuse. You do have some different paint apps on the midsection here. And then on the right arm, the arm itself is reused, but you do have a few new extra pieces. You got this little pouch on a strap here, as well as this little communicator or like data pad or whatever on his forearm there. They're both separate pieces just thrown onto the figure's arm, which is cool. They added these different details. They do like to move around quite a bit. They're not the tightest on there. They do slide around a bit. So after posing and then you want to put them on the shelf, you may have to readjust these. I would have preferred maybe they just glued on, honestly. But yeah, those are some nice details that I really like. The belt is also new. It has this pouch hanging off of it. It's got a few other different pouches as well as a holster on the belt. So that's pretty cool. And then the legs are reused, but on this side you do have a new molded pouch piece on some straps. And this one is a lot tighter. This one doesn't slide around. But I think that looks really good as well. So nothing like astronomically different. It's not like a huge departure from the Stormtrooper mold, but it definitely does show you how you can take a new mold and you can put the effort in to still reuse the mold, but put in enough new parts to make it still look and feel like a new figure. And I think this figure accomplishes that pretty well, in my opinion. So I think it looks pretty good. I like it. In terms of articulation, if you have the Stormtrooper mold, you know what to expect. It's all the same. You have a dumbbell joint in the neck and the base of the neck, and you get a decent range of motion. Obviously, the pauldron will move around with it, so you may have to readjust the pauldron as you pose, but you can get most of the movement you'd expect. Ball hinges at the shoulders, they move out pretty much 90, and then you get rotation there, and just like the Stormtrooper mold is using, the shoulder pad will go with it. Also have a butterfly joint that actually works decently well on this mold. Single hinge at the elbow, which moves a bit past 90, which is good, and rotates there. Then you have swivel and hinges at the wrist. This one on the left goes in and out, one on the right goes up and down, so that's good. You have a ball joint torso, which moves quite well. Crunch is decent. Back just a bit, honestly, but not too bad. And then pivot's pretty good in rotation. Hip joints move quite well. They go that far out. They kick about that far up. Rotation at where the armor meets the thigh. single hinge in the knee, goes a little bit past 90 and rotates, and then you have a hinge that doesn't go a whole lot up, but does go down a fair amount, and then pivots. So this guy's good articulation. I really like this Stormtrooper mold, which is another reason why I like this figure. It's just a really well done mold. So anytime they reuse it to make something new, I'm usually a fan of it. And that's definitely the case with Kreel here. In terms of accessories, it doesn't come with a ton of stuff, but you do get some good things. You do get, of course, Stormtrooper blaster. This might actually be a new mold because it's not the same blaster that comes with the normal 2.0 Stormtrooper mold figures from The Mandalorian. This one actually has a shorter clip, and it doesn't have the torch attachment on the barrel. So you can actually store it. If you had the torch on the barrel, it wouldn't be able to fit in the holster, but it doesn't. So you can actually slot that in the holster, and it holds it really nicely. So weapon storage is always good, and I like that. But of course, if you want them to hold it, best to be held in the right hand with the trigger finger, and you can do that just fine. And you can get, two-handed poses, shooting poses pretty easily with this figure, like so. So that's good. But the other accessory it comes with, and probably what makes him the most unique, is that this is, at least in canon, the only Stormtrooper to use a lightsaber. So he comes with his lightsaber, has a green blade. The hilt, I believe, is reused from Plo Koon's lightsaber, I think. Just painted differently. It's got mostly black with some silver on the end. I think this is technically not accurate to how the lightsaber actually looks in the comic book, but it doesn't really matter to me. It just, as long as it looks generally like what it's supposed to, I'm just fine with it. And you can put that in his hand, and he holds that perfectly fine. And he has the correct wrist hinge, so you can get pretty good lightsaber wielding poses with that. And I think that looks really good. No storage for the hilt. If you wanted to display him with the unlit hilt on his belt, there's nowhere to put it. I guess you could maybe slip it through one of the straps if you wanted to, but yeah, I'm going to be displaying him with the lightsaber, and I'm sure most people will be, because that makes him the most unique in my opinion. But yeah, really cool figure. Not too much to compare him to, obviously. None of the other members of Scar Squadron exist. They probably never will. I can't see Hasbro making any of the others. Kreel was definitely the easiest one for them to make. A lot of them, if not most of them, would all require all new tooling, probably head-to-toe new molding, which I don't think they'll do for them. But here he is next to a standard Stormtrooper with the newer mold. And I think they look really good together. So overall, I think this is a really cool figure. Is it an essential part of your collection? No, it's not an essential part, not an essential character or anything like that. But if you're a fan of the comic book, a fan of the character, or you just like unique figures and unique versions of Stormtroopers, then this is one I'd highly recommend picking up. Anyways, that's pretty much all I have to say, so thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I will see you all in the next video. May the Force be with you.